will start registering if it's okay for everyone, and I will show you my. I have a PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, that's it. Yes. So as I said, I will present to you Paris' finest restaurants, and I have to admit that I chose them a little according to my personal tastes because I had the chance to eat in some of them. So these are also recommendations, and I hope you will have the chance to go to Paris and if you want to discover our gastronomy, you can note these addresses. So to begin with, I will define what we mean by café and brasserie. I sometimes call them restaurants because in France, we consider that any place where you can sit, be served, and eat is a restaurant. But café and brasserie are more precise words. We also have the word bistro that you may know, which are smaller cafes and restaurants. So a cafe is an establishment that mainly serves coffee, but also alcoholic drinks and food such as snacks, sandwiches, or pastries or little desserts. The word restaurant can sometimes apply to them if they serve more elaborated meals. A brasserie is a type of French restaurant with a relaxed setting, which have traditional meals, more or less affordable depending on the restaurant standards. And typically, a brasserie is open every day of the week and serves the same menu all day. And as you may know, as you may have noticed, cafe and restaurants are all parts of Parisian life. You can drink or eat something with your friends, on your date, on your own, when you want, whenever you want, and it's also a place where you can do something else, like you can study and work in a cafe, and there are also places of cultures, of discussions and encounters. And the most famous ones have a long history inside of the walls, in the buildings, or thanks to the people who frequented them. And I will separate this presentation in three types. So cafe, brasserie, and gastronomic restaurants. So different levels and different types of restaurants. And to start this presentation, I will logically present you the first real Parisian cafe. So Le Procope was founded in 1686 by an Armenian man right after the soon-to-be popular coffee drink has been imported in France. His cafe was then bought by an Italian man, Francisco Procopia, who gave his name to this cafe, redecorated it in a luxurious way, and made his business flourish. Then Le Procope became the first and most prestigious literary cafe and was frequented by very, very famous intellectuals such as Voltaire, Racine, and Diderot. Legend has it that it was at the Procope that the beginning of Diderot's encyclopedia was conceived and written. It was a place of intellectual exchanges. Then, during the Revolution, the French Revolution, at the end of the century, the bourgeois gave way to the revolutionaries who fomented their projects and yes, with the revolution in the Procope. And then, after the revolution, the Procope became again a literary cafe where one could meet authors like Georges Sand or Alfred de Musset, as you may know also. It closed at the end of the century because business was no longer good. And then it was used as a place for other restaurants, but it reopened in 1957 under the same name, although it's no longer a literary cafe. As before, it's more of a classic restaurant, a classic brasserie. But at this time, it was a very prestigious cafe, and it was more distinct that it was not a restaurant cafe, it was really a cafe. Then I will present you these two cafes simultaneously because they have many, many similarities. Indeed, they were founded 2 years apart. In 1885 for Les Deux Magots, and 2 years later for Le Café de Flore. On the same square, they were frequented by the same people. So so also artists and writers are like at the Procop. So Arthur Rimbaud, Pablo Picasso. Here you have Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir. They were also very frequented even during the occupation, even if it was mainly, it became to be very successful in between the two wars. And many writers came to work here. So as I said, Simone de Beauvoir that you can see here with a cigarette, I think, and on a piece of paper, and Jean-Paul Sartre as well, but also writers like François Sagan and Nathalie Sarraute. So I think, and what they think too, but what I think also, what's the thing that is very present in this cafe when you are writing or working is that there is a lot of excitement around you. So you are not bored, but you are also alone and concentrated. You can do, it's a mixed feeling, I think. You can also order food or drinks all day to make it more pleasant. You don't have to pay every time to stay, but it's a place when you can spend your all day working. And you can also walk there with your friends. You can talk with them. So it's very free, and it allows you to be in your own bubble, but also well surrounded and stimulated. And that is very nice. And that's maybe that's maybe so I think that the cliche of writers and intellectuals in the cafe come from that, because it's very pleasant to work in a cafe. And then let's move on to the brasserie. Le Dôme, La Coupole, and La Rotonde. The three are also very similar. They were created at the same time and sometimes even to compete with each other. So it's written, yes, La Coupole was founded after Le Dôme to compete with it, because it was very successful. And so they have very remarkable decorations, and they are unique in their own kind. As you can see in the pictures, they are very different. So they compete with each other, but they all have a different atmosphere and identity. So La Coupole here in the middle has very beautiful artworks. So there is a sculptures, also yes, on the roof, and everything is pure and white, and there is a lot of light. And on the contrary, La Rotonde has red velvet seats. It is very warm. It's a very warmly atmosphere, and it's also decorated with paintings. And I didn't go to the dome yet, but you can also see that it's quite different from the three others. You can count, I think, 50 or 60 euros for a complete menu in the evening. So they are, of course, rather expensive, but it is also really good, and the restaurants are very pleasant to be in. The brasserie serve traditional and typically French dishes, but also more sophisticated ones with good seasonal products. They also have a good list of desserts, wines, and cheeses. So if you want to taste really good French cooking, but not too expensive, but really quality, you can go to one of these brasseries. I really recommend it to you. To go to another experience and atmosphere, Le Bouillon Chartier is a really popular brasserie in the and by popular I mean frequented by the people, by normal people. Um, it's a brasserie as La Coupole, etc. But it's much less expensive, and the concept is very efficient and popular. So a bouillon is spacious. It's a spacious restaurant that usually serves traditional French cuisine, in particular a bouillon, so a broth, but it also serves meat and French fries and basic things, but really good. And it proposes traditional dishes at an affordable price with a quick service. So that's the concept, because you are placed in the restaurant, and you order your food, and it comes at you really quick. So it can seem a bit rude, but it's just like that. It's just done like that. And also the spacious room looks like looks like a train station, and it's so beautiful that it's considered as a it's protected by I forgot the label, but it's really beautiful and it's really recognized for that. And it is so popular that customers must wait in line on the sidewalk outside before being placed. So you can also go there, but choose maybe a strategic time and prepare yourself to wait a little bit. So now let's leave this affordable Brassy and let's move on to the palace. In Paris, the best and most recognized restaurants are mainly those owned by palaces. A palace is a specific name for particularly prestigious five-star hostels. There are 31 of them in France, and I will introduce you to 3 of them, which are also known for their restaurants. And most of them, so as you can see, the Plaza Athénée, for example, most of them have their own gastronomic restaurants, but also chic brasseries, tea rooms, outdoor restaurants, etc. So yes, here are some quick descriptions of La Plaza Athénée, so owned by Le Plaza Athénée, the hotel, Le 5, owned by the hotel George V, et Le Meurice, so also Le Meurice. And it is, I think that it's mainly their chefs who are known because they really control what is done in the restaurant. So it's not really part of the hotel, but it really belongs to the chef. And I am not going to tell you the prices because they are quite exorbitant, but obviously, as you can see on the pictures, the places are luxurious, the dishes are elaborate and original, and the restaurants have 3 stars, and it's the highest distinction in cooking. But if you want to taste a little bit of this gastronomic restaurants, if you want to treat yourself, you can go to the pastry shop of Le Meurice, which opened in 2018. And so I don't know if you can really see, but Cédric Grolet, so the chef of the patisserie, creates and shapes really realistic fruits, and you can eat them. So it's not a peach, it's something with fruit inside, and it is as delicious as it is beautiful. So it's more affordable, of course. So if you want to taste something a bit original, you can go to the patisserie of Le Meurice and taste something like that. And finally, some restaurants that you may know that are a little bit unique, one of their kind. So La Tour d'Argent, which is the oldest restaurant in France and maybe in Europe, just across the Seine. So also, if you want to taste something from La Tour d'Argent, you can go to the pastry shop. Le Fouquet, which caused a scandal because Nicolas Sarkozy, former president Nicolas Sarkozy, organized a party there during the elections, and it was a collateral victim of the Gilets jaunes protests because it's obviously a symbol of the right in France, of bourgeoisie and wealth, and so yes, it was a symbol. And I don't know what happened to it after that, but yes, it was really bad. And also, so it's a personal recommendation. Le Pied de Cochon is also well known. I highly recommend it because it's very practical, because you can eat good food there at any time, 24 hours a day. And yes, I went there once, and it was great to eat at 2 a.m. So if you have the chance to go to Paris, and if you are out in the middle of the night, you can go there and eat, and it's always a good thing. That's it. So if you have any question or suggestion, you can tell me, but I have some questions for you if you want to participate a little bit. So after this presentation, is there any restaurant or cafe where you would like to go? So which one tempts you the most? And so if you have ever been to Paris, did you go to one of them? So that were my 2 questions for you. So thank you for your attention, and if you want to add something, please don't hesitate.
Merci beaucoup, Justine. C'était super.
Merci à vous.
Do you have any question? Did you already go to Paris, and do you know some places? I'm sure, Elizabeth, you know some, no? Oh, we cannot hear you. You're on mute.
I passed by the Cafe de Marco and Cafe de Flore.
Yeah.
That was it. And there is a beautiful one inside Gare de Lyon, but I forgot.
Yes.
Le Train Bleu.
Ouais,
Le Train Bleu.
You're right. The Train Bleu, it's an amazing place. And it's from the Art Deco style as well. Yes. And actually, there is another place. It's in the 16th arrondissement. It's a train station. It used to be a train station a long time ago, and they made, I don't remember the name of this one. If it's La Gare, maybe it's La Gare. It's really close to the subway, Justine. And I think the subway station, you see?
Quelque chose.
Yes,
I think so.
It's Excelmans or
yes,
like that.
Yes, I think that I checked it out.
Yes, because I live not far away from there, and it's a really nice place, but it's a little pricey. But they have brunch on the weekend, but it's yes, it's pricey. It's a little expensive, but the place inside it's unbelievable, because it's like you are waiting for the train, and so it's a really nice place. Barbara, do you have any question?
Non, merci, mais je crois la dernière fois que j'étais à Paris, c'était depuis, non c'est avant 1990.
D'accord. Mais il y avait déjà ces endroits-là qui existaient.
Oui, oui. Et je sais qu'on a trouvé des endroits intéressants, mais je ne me rappelle plus.
Ah, okay.
J'étais probablement quelques-uns dans le quartier latin, trucs comme ça.
Ok. Bon. Taryn, do you have any question?
C'était très, très intéressant.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate, merci, Justine. I took notes on everything and some photos. So I'll have research for our next trip, which is supposed to be next year. But one restaurant we went to, and it was interesting to learn the phrase, the bouillon, because we went to a restaurant called Bouillon Julien. And I guess that's a famous restaurant that Edith Piaf used to spend a lot of time in late at night after performances. And it was kind of the Art Deco with the like stained glass ceilings, but it wasn't in a very good neighborhood. It was on a little side street, and the friend that recommended it said, just jump out of your cab and go in, and then jump back in your cab. And of course, we didn't listen to her. And my husband was like, oh, let's go look down here and look in this window and that window. And then we kind of turned a corner and found we weren't in a very good neighborhood. There were some things happening on the street, the sidewalks. And I wish I could remember, there was one restaurant that we were so impressed with, and I can't remember the name. It was Chez something, and it was, I think the word means pig. Chez
au cochon quelque chose.
But the like theme of the restaurant was a pig, but we had a view right over to the gold dome of Napoleon's tomb from the restaurant. And the thing that I was the most impressed about was they had a salad cart. And so they rolled this cart up, and it was like had ice, and then on the top it had all of these different segmented compartments with maybe like a dozen, 10 or 12 different cold salads. And I know your cooking class recently, you just did the celery remoulade. And that was where I had that for the first time. And if you ordered the salad cart, they just gave you a big plate and put a little scoop of every single salad on your plate. And I don't know why, but that was so impressive. The salads were so delicious, and I fell in love with that celery root salad. That was fantastic. But that was just a recommendation from a friend, and I know there are so many great restaurants in Paris, but I think we would go back there again because we had such a wonderful time. But then sometimes it's never good to go back somewhere where you had such a good experience and have it ruined by a not so good experience. So I love researching all the restaurants. So this was really, really interesting. And I love having all these notes for our next trip.
Yes. So when you go back, you can go to your old habits and you can taste some new ones. And yes, I hope you will. You
have any of you been to the restaurant, the highly rated restaurant in the Eiffel Tower? The like 5-star restaurant in the Eiffel Tower.
Is it called the Jules?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I know you have to make a reservation well in advance and prepay. I just didn't know if you thought it was worth it or not.
Yes, I don't know this one.
Yes, I never went there.
Me either.
Yeah.
I have to say that no, I don't know.
Okay, merci Isabelle and Justine.
Merci. Merci à vous.